Alrighty, and here we go, back to the Stone Age once again. So in case you're wondering, the reason why I'm naked and in the desert yet again is because I am starting yet another brand new solo journey on a new official PvP server. I was really hoping that I didn't have to start all over, but unfortunately I did have to hop over to this new server because the server that I was previously on, where I recorded the last 8 episodes, it's just not as active as I would like it to be. There just wasn't much action going on, and it sort of became a major struggle to find any content there. Like, I literally spent the last 3 days on that server trying to record an episode, and there just wasn't anything interesting really happening. So after 3 days wasted, I made the decision to hop over to this new server and resurrect one of my old characters here that has been stuck on this server since server transfers were a thing. So at least thankfully this is an old character of mine, and we don't have to worry about power leveling our character up to level 60 since it's already a level 60 character. And the plan today is going to be very simple. We are going to snowball our way to endgame, and by the end of today we should be fighting some of the top players on this server. I'm feeling really hopeful about this new server because it is one of the most active and long-lasting servers in North America. This server has a lot of history in the PvP world, so I am almost 100% certain that there's going to be an insane amount of action here, and that's exactly what we're looking for so that we can keep improving and leveling up our PvP. Alright, so first things first, before we get started, let's go ahead and set up our attributes. I am going to go for a strength encumbrance build. So I will start by maxing out my encumbrance attribute, just because since we are just getting started, we are going to want the efficient harvest perk so that we can get more bang for our buck when we are farming. And we also want the beast of burden perk so that we can move at full speed while we are over encumbered. Next, I'll go ahead and invest 5 points in grit just to increase my stamina pool a tiny bit. Now, since I am going for a strength encumbrance build, my vitality is going to suffer a bit, and I'll only be able to invest 10 points in vitality. Now for agility, I'm going to spend 15 points so that I can get that quick-footed perk, which is going to allow me to move a bit quicker and also spend less stamina doing so. And now finally, I'll go ahead and put the remaining points that we have in strength, and this will pretty much be our build just till we get to endgame. Now, I would say that this build is definitely not the best encumbrance build out there. Our vitality is pretty low and the damage that we do is barely decent, but this is just the build that I am choosing to go with out of preference, simply because I am not a fan of agility weapons. But anyways, now that we have that out of the way, let me tell you guys how I plan to speedrun my way to endgame. So the last time that I got started on a new official server, I basically farmed the golems in the Keurig dungeon to get a ton of blood crystals that I then exchanged for some Obulus. And then with the Obulus, I was able to buy myself all of the materials and thralls that I needed to get established on the server. Now this time around, I plan to reach endgame by doing something slightly different. I want to avoid farming the golems in the Keurig dungeon because in order to be able to successfully farm that dungeon, you kind of need to do a lot of prep work if you're fresh on a server like me. Before you can do the Keurig dungeon, you gotta get yourself some decent armor and a decent weapon, and maybe even a fighter thrall if you're not comfortable doing it alone. So yeah, as you can see, the Keurig dungeon does require a lot of prep work, and most likely you're not going to be able to do it as soon as you arrive on a new server. So rather than prepping and then farming the Keurig dungeon, my plan is to farm some of the blood crystal rocknoses located all around the map and exchanging those blood crystals for some Obulus that I can then use to buy everything that I need to get to endgame. So it is a pretty similar strategy to farming the Keurig dungeon, except there is almost no prep work required to do this method. So if you haven't played Conan in a really long time and you're returning to a server where you have an old character, or even if you're just starting fresh from level 1 on a new server, you can just follow my lead and you should be at endgame in just a few hours. Now if you take a look here, I got some of the locations for the blood crystal rocknoses marked up with a bunny icon. and the ones that I've selected make a really nice trail from Noob River when you arrive on the server, and it ends at the Keurig entrance where you will exchange them for some Obulus. So yeah, now that you know the plan, let's go ahead and get started. We'll do this route together and be at endgame in no time. We'll start with the first rock nose located right here at Skulker's End. Well, I screwed up the recording and forgot to hit record when I had my first encounter with the rock nose here at Skulker's End, and I ended up killing it and obtaining 48 blood crystals from it. So since I did forget to hit record, we're just gonna come back to this first location later in the video and I'll show you exactly where it is. But anyways, in the meantime, we are going to move on to the second rock nose, which is located right over here. So let's go ahead and look for it. And sometimes it can be a bit tricky to get these rock noses to pop up, but they're here. Just gotta look around. Nice, there it is. Let's go ahead and kill it and get our blood crystals. Now, as you can see, these are pretty easy to kill. I'm just using a stone spear and I have 10 points in strength and I'm still doing decent damage. So even if you're low level, you should be okay. Alright, and it's down. Let's go ahead and farm it. And check it out. This one actually gave us 48 blood crystals using a stone pick, which is not too bad. So if you're following my route, our next stop is located right over here and I'll just see you guys there. Here we have it. Let's go ahead and bring this third one down. Okay, and it's down. And look at that, another 48 blood crystals. Very nice. I think what I really like about this method or route is that you can just do it upon arriving on a new server, and you can kill these rock noses as you're making your way across the map while you attune your bracelet at all the various Obulus locations, and once you reach the Keurig dungeon, you can just exchange the blood crystals and get a ton of resources just to get you started. Now the fourth rock nose is going to be located right over here at the unnamed city. And here it is, perfect. Let me just show you in the map real quick. Alright, and now we'll kill it and farm it. Oh, and this one only gave us 16 blood crystals. It's not as much as we usually get, but it's still better than nothing. Anyways, in total we got 160 blood crystals from 4 rock noses, and that's enough to get us started. So our next stop is going to be the entrance to the Keurig dungeon, where we will exchange these blood crystals for some Obulus, and then I'll show you how you can use those Obulus to double your profits. And just in case you don't know where the Keurig dungeon is, just look for this red beam of light and head towards it and you'll be there in no time. Alright, and here we are at the Keurig dungeon, and now we are going to trade these blood crystals for some of these boxes that contain Obulus. Let's see, it should be one of these merchants here. Yeah, it's this one right here. Let's go ahead and buy as many as we can. Okay, and I think that's all we can afford. Let's go ahead and see how much we got. And I believe that's 10 boxes from 160 blood crystals. Not too bad. And now let's go ahead and pop these open and see how much Obulus we get. Nice, look at that. We got ourselves 87 Obulus just from killing 4 rock noses that we killed on our way here. So yeah, this method is definitely way more efficient than farming sorcerers for their skulls or having to knock them out and then turning them in. You just get way more Obulus from killing these rock noses and then exchanging the blood crystals. But anyways, now that we have some Obulus, I'm just gonna make a small stash here to store some of my loot for the time being, and then I'm gonna go buy myself a blood pick, which is gonna help us maximize our profits even further. Alrighty, and now that we have our stash put away, let's go buy ourselves that blood pick. Oh, and by the way, this is actually the location of the 5th rock nose that we are supposed to farm, but we're not going to farm it just yet. I want to get the blood pick first, then we'll farm it. That way we can get even more blood crystals from it. But yeah, let's keep going. We're going to the merchant at the Black Galleon. Right, and here we are at the Black Galleon, and here's the map location just in case you don't know. But yeah, you can come to this merchant here and get yourself that blood pick once you have some Obulus. Nice, and there we have it. We got our blood pick, and it's super cheap too, just 15 Obulus. It's completely worth it. Let's go ahead and make our way back to that rock nose, and you're gonna see just how much more blood crystals we get now with this blood pick. There we go. Now we'll use our new pick. And look at that, with this new pick we have almost doubled the amount of blood crystals we would normally get. Now we'll head back to the merchant and trade these in and buy ourselves some supplies. By the way, always be on the lookout when you come to the Keurig dungeon, because it is a very popular spot and you don't want to end up getting mugged and losing everything that you've worked for. Alright, and now let's just quickly trade these in and pop these open. So in the end, after buying the blood pick and killing all 5 rock noses, we are left with 106 Obulus, which you can use to buy materials, thralls, tools, and weapons. It's pretty much up to you what you want to invest in. As for me, I'm going to use my Obulus to buy some supply materials, which I'm going to use to reach endgame. So now that we have our supply materials, I am going to go and build a starter base near the spider cave. I always like to build my starter base around this area near the spider cave, just so that I have quick and easy access to farm tons of silk. And we also have the savannah nearby where we can farm some feline pelt, and these are the main materials needed to craft some decent armor. That way we can get straight to doing some PvP. This looks like a pretty good spot right next to the spider cave. Let's go ahead and get building. There we go, all done, home sweet home. Alright, so now that we have some shelter and a bit of privacy, let's go ahead and pop these supply materials open and see what we got. There it is, check it out. This is how much we profited from killing 5 easy monsters in our first hour of starting on this new server. Now with these materials under our possession, we can now use these materials to reach endgame maybe in the next hour or 2. So at this point in the speedrun to endgame, if you arrived on this server as a level 1 character, I would just head over to the frozen temple and farm some black ice until you reach level 60 using your blood pick. If you want to see a video on how to do that, I'll go ahead and link one in the description. Now if you arrived on the server as a level 60 like I did, we are just going to follow the rocknose trail back and farm the rocknoses one more time using the new pick, and then we are going to trade in the blood crystals for some Obulus, and then we'll use the Obulus to buy some worker thralls or whatever else we really need. And check this out, for this second run we ended up getting 128 blood crystals using this new blood pick. Buying this blood pick is an absolute game changer. We are gonna get so much more than the first time when we were using a stone pick. Now of course, farming the golems in the Keurig dungeon is always going to be way more profitable than farming these rock noses, but the whole point of this is to do this as soon as you arrive on a new server, just to get a nice quick start, and then once you have some proper armor and weapons from farming these rock noses, you can farm the Keurig dungeon if you need some more blood crystals. And I know I said this already, but what's really awesome about this trail is that you can just do it as you make your way across Noob River while you're attuning your bracelet at all the Obulus locations, or you can even do this as you're initially scouting the server for bases when you arrive. Oh, and by the way, this is the location for that first rock nose that I never recorded. You can just come here to Skulker's End, and it should be in this area. Alright, and this is the last one. Now we're gonna head back to the Keurig dungeon and trade these in. Thankfully this server has a map room here, and I get to save some time. Alright, here we are. You guys already know what to do here. This time around we're gonna get so much more since we used the blood pick. Check it out, all this just from that quick little run. Yeah, let's pop these open, see how much Obulus we get. There we have it, 236 Obulus. And like I said earlier, it is completely up to you what you buy with these Obulus. You can buy yourself some more materials, some worker thralls, some weapons. It just depends on your own personal needs. For me personally, all I care about getting is an armor thrall so that I can craft some decent armor and get started with doing some PvP right away. So we're gonna try and gamble and see if we can get that armor thrall, and hopefully we can get it first try so that we can save our Obulus for the future. Alright, here we go. Can we get an armor thrall first try? Let's do it. And look at that, first try we did. Nice. Alright, so we ended up getting the only thing we needed first try. So now with the rest of the Obulus, I'm just gonna save it and stash it somewhere. That way if I get wiped in the future, I can just use the Obulus to get another quick start. We are pretty much set now with these materials. I'm just gonna go ahead and craft my benches and get these materials processed so that I can get all my tier 3 benches in maybe an hour or two once the materials are done processing. So yeah, let's go ahead and craft some benches now. Alrighty, so our benches are officially up and running, and we should be able to upgrade them to tier 3 once our steel reinforcement and hardened brick are done crafting. Now it is going to take some time to get everything processed, so in the meantime while we wait, we are going to gather everything that we need to be able to start PvPing later on today. So the first thing that we need to be able to start PvPing is some proper armor. Unfortunately, on this old character of mine, I still don't have all of the meta armor recipes yet. So we are going to settle for what I do currently have, and it's the Void Forged Dragonhide armor. Now ideally, I would like to mix this armor with the Light Silent Legion armor, but like I said, I don't have all of the recipes yet, so we're just gonna have to settle for the full set of Dragonhide. So to craft the Dragonhide armor, we're just gonna need to gather some silk, some feline pelt, and some dragon bone. So let's go ahead and get started with that. We'll start by farming some silk, and thankfully we live right next to the spider cave, so it should be quick and easy. Alrighty, and that should be enough for some armor. Next, we'll head over to the savannah and farm for some feline pelt. And again, thankfully, we live right next to it, so it should be another quick and easy farm. Perfect, and I think that's all that we're gonna need. I'm gonna head back to home base now and depot all this, and then we'll move on to the next item on the list. So the next item on the list, and I believe this is the final item that we need, is some dragon bone. So we're gonna make our way to the unnamed city and farm some of the dragons there and get some dragon bone. Alright, and this should be enough. We don't really need too much dragon bone. So let's head back to home base now and craft ourselves some brand new armor. Oh, by the way, so I was on my way back to base and I just realized that this server actually has an arena. Check this out, this place looks incredible. I love how tall this arena feels. Can't wait to try this place out later on today once we're all set for PvP. Alright, let's get out of here. Let's finish getting ready so that we can finally get to the fun part. Alright, and we're back at home base. Now we're just gonna go ahead and craft our dragonhide armor. Actually, you know what? I should have enough materials now to be able to upgrade to the garrison's armors bench. That way we can save on our material costs. So I'm just gonna go ahead and upgrade our armors bench, and then we'll craft our armor. Okay, our armor is good to go. Let's go ahead and try it on. Nice, and there we have it. Look at us, we're fully armored now and almost ready for some chaos. We just need a few more things to be fully ready for some PvP. Alright, so now that we officially have some proper armor, our next task will be to get ourselves some proper weapons, and for me, my two favorite weapons are the spear and the two-handed great axe. As you might have noticed, I already went ahead and crafted myself an ancient pike using the materials that we purchased with the Obulus, so that means that all I really need now is my two-handed great axe. So the plan now is to farm ourselves some star metal using these explosive arrows that I crafted earlier today, and then we'll use the star metal to craft ourselves a star metal great axe. We'll start by grabbing some black ice, which we'll need to be able to make some star metal bars. Next, we'll do a little bit of wandering around and hopefully run into some star metal ores. Really hoping that we don't spend the next hour here looking for some. We'll check down here first, see if there's anything. We found one. Looks like we're not gonna be here too long after all, thankfully. Honestly, this is probably all that we need for now. Let's start heading back. If I find any other nodes on the way back to the map room, I'll farm it, but I think we're good to go. We'll make a quick stop at the Brim Lake, because we're also going to need some brimstone to be able to turn this into star metal bars. Don't really need too much brimstone, just enough. We'll get one more node and that should be enough. And off we go back to home base. We'll get these processed into some star metal bars and then we'll craft our weapon. And there we have it, our star metal great axe is complete and we are one step closer to being ready to PvP. Alrighty, so now that we have some armor and some weapons, our next task in our agenda will be to farm some of the materials needed to craft some strength buffs, and these strength buffs are going to help us increase our damage against our enemies. This is a very important step for prepping to do some PvP because since our weapons aren't crafted by a blacksmith, that means that we are going to be at a damage disadvantage whenever we fight against a more established player that has a bladesmith or any type of blacksmith. So yeah, crafting some strength buffs is absolutely necessary to help minimize our disadvantage. So we are going to start by getting the recipe for salted pork here at the summoning place. And just for anyone that doesn't know, salted pork is just a nice food buff that gives you a 15% increase in weapon damage. You can find that recipe right up here next to this campfire. There we go, we got it. Let's get out of here. So now that we have the recipe that we need, we'll head over to the Mounds of the Dead to kill some boars and farm some raw pork, which is one of the 2 ingredients that we need to cook some salted pork. Okay, and here we have some. Let's go ahead and take them down. And there we have it, more than enough. The second ingredient for this recipe is some salt, and we can just make that at home by putting some stones in a grinder. So rather than making 2 separate trips, we're just gonna go right now and farm the materials to make some Black Lotus potion, and the Black Lotus potion will be our second strength buff that will stack on top for an additional 15% in strength weapon damage. This one is super easy to farm for. You just gotta come to the Black Garden in the southern jungle and you'll find plenty of Black Lotus flower to farm. We're also going to need some alchemical base and some water filled glass flasks, but thankfully we have all that back home already. Alright, and I think we have more than enough. Let's go and head back to home base now and craft ourselves some strength buffs. Okay, and we're back at home base. We're gonna start by cooking some salted pork. We'll leave this cooking for now, and in the meantime we'll start making the Black Lotus potions. We just gotta put the flour in the grinder and make some powder out of it. And while we wait for that as well, I'll just go ahead and upgrade our furnaces to a tier 3 just to increase our production. Okay, we have enough powder now. Let's go and get these Black Lotus potions going. I'm also going to go ahead and respec to a strength build because we are about to head out and grab the final thing that we need to be able to start PvPing. And just for anyone that is curious, this is the strength build that I use for PvP. But anyways, now that we have that out of the way, let's go ahead and consume our 2 buffs. And as you can see to the left, with those 2 buffs, we have a total of a 30% increase in strength weapon damage. Now, even with these buffs, we're still going to be at a disadvantage against more established players who have the ideal thralls like the bladesmith or a shieldwright to make better armor and weapons. But thankfully, there is one more thing that we can do to help minimize that disadvantage even further, and that is to learn the recipes for bulk plating, which is an armor upgrade that increases the armor value of your armor. And there's also the master weapon fitting recipe, which increases both the damage and armor penetration of your weapon. I would say that both these recipes are absolutely necessary to be able to compete against other players on a server, and you can learn both these recipes at the Warmaker's dungeon. This dungeon can be pretty tedious to do if you're fresh on a server, mostly because at minimum you are going to need to fight 3 very tanky bosses. Not really looking forward to doing this dungeon, but like I said, we absolutely need these recipes or else we're not going to last in battle. Just gonna try and speedrun my way through it as much as I can. We don't really have to fight any of these monsters here, we can just run past them and then we just gotta try and lose the aggro. First we'll go into this door that takes us into this room where there's 3 doors to fight 3 separate bosses that we unfortunately need to fight. Next we'll go into this first boss room and we'll just run past everything until we can't anymore. We're still being chased, but we'll keep going to the next room where you'll find the boss. And here, whatever monsters are still chasing me, I'll fight them and then I'll fight the boss. Honestly, it's probably way easier if you don't try to skip these weaker monsters and you just fight them as you make your way across the dungeon, because as you can see, it's a big mess right now, and in the end, laziness will only end up costing you more. Okay, those were the last ones, and now finally we can have our 1v1 against the boss. Like I said earlier, these 3 bosses that we need to fight are super tanky, and it is going to take some time if you're fresh on a server. And there we have it finally, and what we're really after is these statues, which we'll need later on. But yeah, that's the first boss, and now all we gotta do is repeat this for 2 other bosses. Here we go, time for the second one. There we go, second one is down. We'll grab the statue. Now all we need is the 3rd boss. Let's do it. There it is, that's the 3rd and final boss that we'll need to fight. Now we're just gonna go back to the main room and we'll place the 3 statues right in the center. And this will give you a key which will allow you to open this 4th door in this room. Now we just gotta follow this path. Now to access the next door, we gotta kill a blue skeleton that's somewhere around here, which in my opinion is even harder than the last 3 bosses that we had to kill. So this would be the door that we would need to access with a key to move on to the next room. But thankfully, if you're just here for the recipe and nothing else, there's this nice crack in the wall which we can use to skip the blue skeleton boss and the arena champion. It is super convenient if you're just trying to speedrun this dungeon. But anyways, now all we gotta do is follow this path and we'll be in the recipe room in no time. And here we are, this is the final boss in this dungeon. Thankfully we can skip him. Just gotta find the tablets, click them, and learn the recipe. Here we have the first one for the weapon master fitting, and the second one for the bulk plating. And now we're good to go. We'll head back to home base and get these recipes crafted. Alright, and we're back at home base, and we'll make 5 of these for each piece of armor, and this will increase our armor value very drastically. We're also going to make 2 of these for each of our weapons, and this will increase our damage and armor penetration, and that will pretty much be it. Once we apply these upgrades, we'll be ready to do some PvP. Now, of course, there's always more things that we can do to better prepare ourselves for battle. For example, we can make some antidotes for poison. We can also craft some poison for our weapons, and we can buy some iced tea as well, and maybe cook some feast to Yogg. But we're just gonna postpone that for a later episode because we have prepared ourselves enough to be okay in a battle. And honestly, I just want to get to the fun part of this video and get to do some PvP at last. Alright, these are finally ready. Let's go ahead and upgrade our stuff. And there we have it. We're officially ready for some PvP. Actually, there's still one more thing I need to do. Don't worry, it's going to be real quick for you guys. I'm just going to move base locations to a better suited one now that we are pretty much at endgame. This shouldn't take too long. In the next clip, we should have a fully upgraded base. Alright, all done. Let's get out of here. Off to our new home. Alright, and here we have it. This is our brand new home. We have all of our benches fully upgraded to tier 3 using the same exact materials that we purchased earlier from the correct dungeon. I decided not to upgrade the actual physical base because I realized that it's been a while since I've actually had a main base on the channel, and I think for the next episode we are going to go ahead and build ourselves a really cool main base, and if we get raided we can try and defend it and have some fun with that. But yeah, here we have it. This will be our home for the time being, and now that we are completely and officially done with everything, it's time for us to go out into the world and find ourselves a fight. So throughout my short time here on this server, there's 3 things that I've noticed that I really like about this server so far. The first thing that I've noticed is that the global chat on this server is always active, and that's always a good sign of a healthy server. Like on the last server, for example, that I was on, hardly anyone would ever talk in global, so it's really nice to finally see some activity in the chat. Now, the second thing that I've noticed is that there's a ton of tier 3 altars all around the map, and that's another good sign of a healthy server because it means that there's multiple big clans, not just one big clan that holds all the power. And now the third and final thing that I've noticed is that there's so many regular bases all around, and that's so nice to see because on the last server that I was on, it was such a struggle to find a decent base to raid, mostly just because there weren't many, and the few that existed were strangely empty inside. So yeah, so far there's lots of good first impressions that I've noticed. I really don't think we're gonna have any trouble finding some PvP. But anyways, now that I've removed my corruption, I want to take a few minutes to go around the map and scout some of the bases that have a tier 3 altar just to get an idea of who the big clans on this server are. So I think we'll start our adventure by exploring this cluster of tier 3 altars southwest of the summoning place. That seems like a good place to start considering we are very close to it. This will be a quick scout just to get some names down on the map and to see if we can find any nice bases to raid. Alright, so the first altar belongs to this beautiful pyramid right over here. Check it out. They did such a good job choosing these building pieces. Looks so good. Alright, so next there's 3 altars that belong to this base. I believe it's the same owner for all 3. Oh, and it's actually the same owner as the pyramid as well. So it seems like this clan has taken over this whole area here. Not gonna lie, this base looks really nice for a solo raid. It's not too easy, but it's also not insanely difficult. This really depends on how many clan members we would be up against. Alright, so next we'll check this one out, and that will be the last one for this region, and then we'll move on to the next. Like I said earlier, just trying to do a quick scout just to get some names down, not really doing a deep dive into any of these bases. Alright, and here we have it. I have a feeling it's gonna be the same clan. Yep, it's the same one. And there's the altar. So that about sums up all the altars in this area. Now we're gonna make our way to a map room and check out the altars in the jungle. Alright, so this is the first altar base located in the jungle. It is very close to the southern obelisk, and the decay timer shows that the clan is online right now. We can't really go down there and explore because we'll get stuck due to the anti-climb. This base is actually pretty massive compared to the last few ones that we've seen. They got a few archers over there, and there's a pyramid down there, and I'm guessing the main building is super honeycombed. Alright, and here we have the next base with a tier 3 altar, and this one only has 68 hours left on its decay timer, and this is probably the reason why. It's already been gutted by another clan. Alrighty, so I think now I'm going to continue scouting off camera just to save on storage, because I do want to have some hard drive space to record all the PvP that hopefully is to come. So I'll go ahead and continue scouting, and hopefully in the next clip we're doing some PvP. Alrighty, and we're back, and it's finally time for some PvP. We have a ton of people posting on global chat that there's some PvP going on at Sinkhole, and we're about to join in on all the fun. So check it out, we are here at Sinkhole, and we have quite a few players gathered here, and everyone just seems to be messing around and just having some fun fights. So that did not take very long. It looks like we have our first fight on this server booked already. We'll be going up against this player. Here we go, our first fight on this server. Let's do it. That was a good first fight. Now we'll be going up against Pikachu. Here we go. Got destroyed against Pikachu. Now we'll have our third fight against 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Alrighty, so just got done with those last two fights and we pretty much got destroyed by Pikachu and 123. Now we're just chilling here waiting for another fight, and as you can see there's even more players now, so this night is just getting started. Alright, our next fight is booked. We'll be going up against this player. Here we go. Got another fight booked immediately after. Here we go. Okay, we're definitely coming back for a rematch. I think he may have had harpy daggers because that cripple effect was crazy. Okay, here we go again. If he is using harpy daggers, we cannot get hit once, because as soon as we get hit once, we'll be completely stationary. You absolutely got to play perfect when you're fighting against harpy daggers. Because all it takes is one hit and it's the beginning of the end. So I just asked him if they are harpy daggers and he just confirmed that they are. So that would explain the absurd cripple effect that I was getting hit with. Now this will be interesting to see. Let's see how Pikachu handles the harpy daggers. Looks like they're using the spear to counter them. Oh, looks like he's low. He's surrendering. Nice, and there we have it. Pikachu's the winner. Alrighty, and we're up next. We'll be going up against Rob. Here we go. Oh, we got harpies again. They look like Dagon daggers, but I don't think they are. That cripple's a little too much. We'll find out in a second once I get hit. Yep, that's harpy for sure. Alright, so now we have a new opponent. Should be a fun fight. Here we go. Alright, here we go. Rematch time. Let's do it. Alright, next one we're going up against Rob once again. Let's see if we can do a little better against those harpy daggers. Here we go. Oh, check this out. Now we got Pikachu up against Rob. Let's see how they do. And look at that, Pikachu is the winner yet again against the Harpy Daggers, the absolute destroyer of Harpy players. Now there's only one good way to end today's video, and that is with a final battle against Pikachu, the destroyer of Harpies. Here we go.